I'm here with Bill, Duane, and Chad Showalter. We're doing part 3 to the podcast, so we're just going to start up where we left off. So, Duane, you started talking a little bit about those dogs. You want to just kind of go into what you're thinking?
Yeah, I guess when Doug started or finished promoting Clover and he got breeding him a bunch, everything took off then, seeing what he was going to put on the ground. We mentioned a few of them in the last podcast. We was talking about Delta Rebel, Pretty Girl, and Raging Bull. That was just slightly touching the base, I guess, here of what he really did for the Walker breed. If my memory calls me, he had about 1,200 pups on the ground. And them pups' lifetime earnings was somewhere about $695,000, if I believe. Now, one of them, I mean, he reproduced some, a lot of usable stuff. But I do want to touch on some of the females that I can think of off the top of my head that he reproduced. One being Stylish Molly. She was a pickup truck winner. Alan Wilson owned her. Chris Allen handled her. Just a tiny little exciting type of female, quick on both ends, just a handful in a cast. And there was another one here, local guy had Mr. Kurt Seibert, good dog man. He had Seibert's Clover Ann. She got in the finals of the Super Stakes. She was just like we talked in the last podcast, trailing around type of female. Have him coons, and just a nice little jip. And then there was another one that comes off the top of my head was John Gossett had a female called Chick. She won the Super Stakes, and she reproduced well for him in his breeding program. I think, there was a couple male dogs off that went back to her, and I actually talked with John once about breeding a female too, some of that stuff, because that was a good line of dogs he had down there, and I was always one to, follow more of the female type. I just, when I was breeding dogs, I liked to have a good foundation of females in that pedigree. To me, that meant more than the male dogs to me at that time. Boomer over here, he's, got a good female line. Goes back, back in the day when he got one of them Clover bred dogs from Fred Bodenberg, and he just put it into his program. And to this day, he's still, breeding these old black and white dogs. And speaking of Fred, we did touch about his female back in the day, Old Fish. That female had 51 pups, and her pups' lifetime earnings was like $82,000 out of them 51 pups. And that says a lot. She reproduced a truck winner, hardwood fine, a lot of good dogs. And you look back at it, these dogs, like I said in the previous podcast, was very good to a lot of people in this area. And man, you go back and you look at the PKC Hall of Fame dogs in there, and you can go back to Stylish Queen when she started. She had her pup earnings back, the hard way was $127,000, and she had like 20 pups. And then you got Chirpy right here, another one, gold champion like we talked, Hall of Famer. Stylish Clover Whitey, Hall of Famer. Bodenberg's Fish, Hall of Fame, reproducing female. So just to, kind of round it up, just wrap it up right there, how do you walk away from something like that, and let that get away? Yeah, like we talked, some of it's a little bit watered down now, through all the generations. But it's really hard, like I told you, Clayton, I walked away in 2018, but if I would get me a dog tomorrow, a man just showed me a picture, I know where I'd go to get a pup, but I am not getting back into the coon hunting. I'm going to make that perfectly clear right now. Now, since these first 2 podcasts, I've had numerous people saying it won't be long, I'm looking forward to going hunting tonight with you guys. I've not looked up a tree in 6 years. To say I'm a little bit excited, I'm a little bit excited to see some dog work, And I appreciate you getting me out here again doing this, because It has sparked a little bit, you know. It did. You know, I ain't gonna lie, the fire's in down there. It's smoldering right now. But I just got other priorities I want to take care of right now in life. But anyhow, you know, there's stuff out there yet, you know, and I've sold all my Gatorade semen before I even did any of these podcasts, so I wish everybody the best of luck, because I wasn't going to use it. You know, there is no more. Well, I do know where there's some, but you know, there's stuff out there if people still want it, but it's at limited, you know, it's not a whole bunch. So I guess, you know, the guys that have it are being selfish, and rightfully so.
Yeah. You want to talk about Gatorade a little bit, like what he's out of, and
Gatorade was off. He was a night champion. I took a little break in there. My wife had, right before my daughter was born, which she'll be 20 here this summer, they diagnosed my wife with stage 4 breast cancer. So I just sold all the dogs. I had a litter mate to Gatorade called Stylish Hannah, and I didn't want to even walk out back to feed anything. So I sold everything, and when I decided to get back in it after a couple years where she was healthy again, I went tracking down Gatorade. Gatorade was off a stride in Bodenberg's fish. And I didn't think Fred's kind of particular about what he breeds too, and Fred and I have been friends for forever. And he called me up and he said, what do you think about breeding fish to stride? But, you know, I said, well, it's going to be tight. You know, I can't guarantee nothing. It might be too much. Fred wasn't much to travel, you know, to go breed to a dog unless somebody went with him. He didn't care to drive. Heck, I drove him out to Oklahoma one time, breed to Stylish Harry, but that's for another day. But, you know, he, Gatorade, it was a nice litter of pups that, you know, all of them was usable, and Gatorade was just, he was a gold champion. I went and bought him. He was like 7 years old. He was 8 before I even bred him. He's just got a handful of pups on the ground, but he's reproduced. Big ball mouth, go hunting dog, get in that country. He would strike with them dogs when you turned him loose, and it didn't bother him none. You know, he'd tree with them, but if you recut in another woods, they're going to have to keep up with him, because then he's going to be by himself the rest of the night. That was his bread and butter there. I loved recasting, but, you know, up in this part of the country, you're kind of limited to do that.
Yeah.
I didn't do much with him, but just coon hunting. Made him a night champion. Probably should have granted him out, because, you know, it was just 3 first-place wins, and made him a night champion. I qualified him for the AKC World Hunt, and I went, and we was a finalist at that. I just really wasn't in that fighting mode in them casts at that time. I was more wanting to be at home. I just kind of pulled him and went home, you know.
Yeah.
But he was, you know, he didn't get bred all that much, you know, for sure.
Yep. Is there any other dogs that, since we talked last time, that you wanted to mention that?
Well, you know, there was a lot. And I'm not trying to hog this time up. Maybe Bill's got a list right here or something that he could probably help, you know. But, you know, Bill had, you know, there was, you know, like the stylish little Manson dog, you know, just local stuff, you know, which he was a litter mate to Fugly, or secret agent man. You know, we just kind of coon hunted them and then used them when we needed something, I guess, per se. You know, Bill sold Manson. I really liked Manson. He acted a lot like Little Man. You know, Little Man was awful whitey and Stylish Thunder Girl. And, you know, out of them in that litter, I really liked, you know, Little Man.
Yeah.
He would, well, a lot of people, and I don't know, maybe Boomer or Bill can chime in here, those dogs are people dogs. You know, they are, not only are they hounds, they're smart, but you can teach them yard dog sense. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, a lot of times, you know, they'd be on the back porch with me. Little Man was like that, you know. He'd just kind of go with you. You could tell him to lay down, roll over, and all that, and he would, you know, act good. And I tell you, another one that just came to my mind was the dog back. John Bassett did a lot of winning with him, and sold him to Eric Fairchild. Was Stylish Hitman, and Hit was like that. He was real smart. He would he'd fetch balls for you. I mean, everything. It'd get dark, just time to get in a truck, and he'd go tree coons. And that kind of goes back. Stylish Queen and Thunder Girl, Gary Brineball was a farmer. And you'd be out there in the fall, Gary'd be taking beans off or corn off, and Queenie'd be laid up in there in that cab of that combine. You know, Girly would be up in there. You know, they just wanted to be around you. There was people dogs that tried to please you probably too much sometimes, to an aggravation.
Yep. I personally like dogs like that. Especially if I'm starting and training my own dogs, if you can have that relationship. In my experience, it doesn't take as much to correct them because they know they have such a strong bond with you and understand they want to please you. A lot of times it doesn't take a ton to get their attention, where other dogs,
tone of your voice,
might be so bullheaded that you can't do anything to get their attention. They're just going to be so stubborn and do whatever they want.
And there was one of them on that list that Bill and I was partners in on him, and I hunted him a lot, and he aggravated me. He was like that. He was pretty bullheaded. He did turn out pretty decent, and I believe when them guys bred him and stuff, but when I'm done with one, I'm done. You know, point blank, I'm done. You know, I've got all the respect in them, but you know, when, like I said, when there's that fine line with me, and when I wake up that next morning, because I'm done. And I called Bill and said, I'm done with this one. He may be a good one, but I'm done. And
when he eats up a $300 dog box.
When he ate that doghouse up, when he ate that doghouse up, I tell you a little bit. I tell you what, that dog was mad at me. That night, he could tree a coon as quick as anything, and do it in style. But he'd also tree a possum. He got a little sweet tooth for a possum right in that little time in there. And I tried everything.
9, 10 months old,
yeah.
11.
Yeah, and I was trying everything, and I'm like, the night he was mad at me. I just tell you point blank what happened. He treated a possum, he treated a coon, and I'll tell you the dog I'm talking about is Buzz. And he treated a coon, treated a possum, and I got after him on that possum. And I kid you not, I turned him, recut him in that woods, and he didn't go 20 yards, swallows up treat again. I said, okay, now you got yourself a coon. Went in there, and he had a whole litter of possums.
Oh, geez.
And I lost my marbles. I mean, look, tell you right now, I lost my marbles. And I said, I ain't never seen nothing like this in my life. And me and him wrestled, and oh my gosh. If somebody would have had that on film. But anyhow, I turned him loose. And this sucker runs out of there, he gets up in the country, and he fires a deer out of there.
No.
Straight north he goes. I thought, bud, when I get you and my hands on you, mean he's going to have another talking to. He flips off, trees this coon. I was so mad I pulled up. I didn't know who owned that woods. Pulled up, guy comes out. He says, that your dog back in there? I said, I'll be out of here in about 10 minutes. Just let me go get him. I said, I'm not in the mood, sir. And he said, well, you got 10 minutes. I hustled Buck up in there. I got him. What was I supposed to do? I couldn't do nothing. He's sitting on this coon. I get home. I go straight home, put him in the doghouse. I woke up the next morning and go out. And I'm OCD, and I'm out there to clean them dog kennels. I'm saying, what's all these wood shades? Now, this is a nice $300 doghouse. And I walk out there, and he literally ate and chewed the whole bottom of that doghouse out in the walls. The only thing that was holding this thing together was the aluminum. Boy, I'll tell you what, I thought, I don't know how much more this dude can talk, but if I owned all of him, I know what was about to happen. But I didn't. And Bill was still at work. I called Bill. I said, you need to call me. I said, because we're done. So Bill came and got him that night and said, don't do nothing. I said, you can just come and get him.
Yeah.
I knowed it had to be something bad because he done told me when he started taking that dog hunting, he said, we're going to win something big with this son of a gun right here, Bill Korte. Yeah, that dog he'd get through that country and get treed, and when he put it in park, you guaranteed he was going to look at a coon. Mr. Shane Foltz and Joe Zinn and his boy, they put a lot of hunting on that dog. They made him into a really nice outfit.
Boy, you talk about trials and tribulations, though. Boy, he pushed my limits to the max.
I don't believe that dog ever treated a possum after that.
He should have. Maybe you guys ought to pay me for that dog breaking session then. I know I wouldn't. I guarantee you I wouldn't.
He knows why you was mad at him, Duane.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good one.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
But like him, I don't believe he got bred very much either. He probably maybe has 50 pups on the ground.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, as you go through this whole list, none of these were necessarily bred heavy. I mean, after Whitey.
Right? Yeah, none of them were.
Just kind of bred local. It's just kind of stayed around this area, and they just have not thread a lot of pups.
No, you're right on. People weren't. I touched on it the last time. One, their looks. There's only a certain group of people that want that. But then, like I said, people in the eastern part of the country, they didn't really want this stuff. Why? So we just coon hunted. That's all we knew, Clayton, was just go coon hunting and hunted the local hunts.
I think the other thing that hurt them, in my opinion, is they're not all great tree dogs. Explosive, impressive, they'll ball around, chop a little bit, ball around, and back in the day when you had, the Sackett Juniors and the Nailers of the world that were, 130 bark a minute, just, blow the top out. These style of dogs typically aren't that way.
And that temperature gauge got to be about 75, 80 degrees at night.
Straight ball mouth almost.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You're right on, Boomer. I agree. And people got to where they wanted to hear. Then rat come in there, rat attack.
Oh yeah.
So then people wanted to hear that stuff sitting in there. They didn't care if they had coons. That's when they just wanted to hear something stylish up in there versus something bawling, crying around.
No.
It's what everybody wants. And it did. We started. Boomer did. I'll give credit where credit. Boomer did. Finally, Chuck did. Chuck likes a clean tree dog, and that's probably why he didn't breed. And kept that stuff out of there. One, Chuck likes a blanket bag dog. There ain't nothing wrong with them pretty dogs. He wanted a good clean tree dog. And we've talked in the past. What can I put in here to, to clean them tree dogs up. A little bit. You're just, guys had to put some Sackett in them.
Yeah.
They found out that the more and I touched on this on the last podcast. The more you put in there on that Whitey stuff, you was going to get ball mouth tree dogs. You was going to lose a little bit of the conformation in them. Mm-hmm. So you had to bring something in there, like Sackett or Nailer, back in there to try to clean it up a little bit.
On the efforts to, you're trying to enhance the qualities you want in the dog, the accuracy and the nose, and in the efforts to do that, you also amplify the negative aspects.
Absolutely.
And so it got a little too one-sided, in my opinion, on the crosses. So then you had to look out, outside to this, and we went Sackett Juniors the way we went.
Yep.
With our Whitey stuff, but
and like I said, previously, I was the type, and I'm guilty as charged. My female didn't reproduce like Anna. Anna reproduced a lot of nice stuff. I tried different things, but Chuck was not line breeding with Anna like I was. I went to Tony's Wild Clover. I was making uncle to niece crosses and stuff, trying to keep what we got because we really liked it, and it just didn't work. And you're doubling
Not
up.
with her, but it had worked.
It had worked, but it didn't work with mine.
Right.
Right.
It has worked with them, and I was going that route. And it took me too long to figure out that, hey, this ain't working. I'm doubling up on bad stuff, and I wasn't getting. She threw a few decent dogs, but nothing that I was hoping for. So I just kind of basically made her a yard dog, and got hunting dogs for other people then, for a while.
You want to talk about some of those dogs you got on your list? Some of the, I guess, are they ones that we forgot to mention last time?
Oh, there's a bunch of them on here. I don't know where you want to start at. There's another little dog that was pretty famous. It was Old Stylish Hank. Randy Jaycod was the second litter of Queen and Lipper cross, right?
Yep, second litter. He was a litter mate Stylish Hooker was in there too on that cross.
Yeah, he was good. Duane bought a female off me called Stylish Top. Mm-hmm. I don't recall what she was.
She was off Stylish Lipper. She was I did a little winning with her. had a truck ticket on her and all that kind of stuff. She was blanket back, kind of black-headed female, high-pitched mouth, good tree dog, explosive tree dog. And she wasn't your typical Clover bred tree dog. She was high-pitched, sounded like Anna, at that time, high-pitched. And she was Sackett Jr. and some old Clover bred stuff on the bottom side. But yeah, she was a nice little female.
What's your, I guess over the years, I'll start with you and we can just go across. What is your favorite line of dogs that you outcrossed or that you saw that crossed really well on him once you started going out?
Boy. I tell you what, I don't think a lot of people, Stylish Harry was off of Hayes and Anna. He threw a dog that was more wired 440. And, he was a nice pup, back in the day. And we tried breeding some of that stuff into the Clover stuff, and it just didn't work. I didn't see much of anything good in there. You got a bunch of, I just tell you, I thought they was too rattle-headed, he was constantly yelling out back and getting them to shut up. They'd pace in that kennel. They was just, but I'll tell you across that probably didn't get the attention that I thought it probably should have. Chuck bred Stylish Anna to Deanwood Drifter. And back in the day, old Deanwood Drifter, he was a house-bred dog right off House Clint. And when Bill and I and Gary and all of us went down to PKC Walker days in Paducah, Kentucky, actually I hunted Anna because my female come in heat. I got her qualified. I got her in the finals that night, and she was in heat. She come in heat, was down there, so we just greased her up and whatnot and said, heck, let's just roll, see what happens, She treated the only coon in the cast, got up in the country. Chuck took her home, bred her to Deanwood Drifter. And out of that cross was a really nice dog, made the Final Four of the PKC World, and I believe that's what it was, called Drifter Stylish Buzz. I can't remember what happened to him, but I like the house-bred stuff with the whitey stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why Fred Bodenberg was so successful with the Clover bred stuff on those house-bred females of his. He had stuff that went back to Tom again, and you got that track dog stuff in there. You got the dogs, what made Joe House what he was. Them dogs back did a lot of winning for Joe, treat a lot of coons, and I think my personal belief, Whitey worked the best on those house-bred dogs. If you think about it.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
What about you, Bill? Is there any line of dogs or specific dog that you really liked?
I never made very many crosses at all, but when I thought about making crosses, the line that always come to my mind was the wipeout line of dogs, right? Because they were a trailing style dog, and when they treed, they had raccoons, right? Mm-hmm. So I messed with that a little bit, and there again, it's what everybody likes, right?
Yep.
I like a trailing dog. Now, a lot of people will say, "Oh, that's Clover and wipeout. That's just too much. You don't spend too much time on the ground." But and they probably do. Probably a lot of people wouldn't hunt them. But I like that style of dog. I don't care if they trail for an hour, but when they put it in park, they better have a dang coon, right? Yeah. I can listen to one, trail for an hour, and have a coon, then go to 4 or 5 trees and not have one.
Yeah.
It's just me. That's the
if they don't have them.
I like.
If they don't have them coons, they ain't staying around.
No.
If I want to walk around and look up trees and not see nothing in them, I live in the woods. I just walk in there all day long. Bill's got a beautiful setting here. We go over here right now and just start looking up trees, and not have to feed them.
You might find more coon that way. Than
we might. We might.
Chad,
what about you?
I already said we played with the Sackett Junior line on them whitey dogs, and I liked that. But I will say this: I think my biggest regret was we didn't get into the coma stuff.
Flat Rock Coma.
I think we missed the boat on that one. That's probably one of my biggest regrets from back in the day. We started crossing Sackett Junior into it pretty early, pretty much before anybody else did, honestly, and it worked out well for us. But I think we probably missed the boat on that. That's probably my one regret.
You know, I did breed patched Flat Rock Coma.
Did you?
Yeah, I went out, drove through a snowstorm to get out there. I bred the Tacoma. I was all lined up to go to Ronnie Nickens in Tennessee and breed him. And Ronnie called me. I was leaving that night, through the night, going to get there in the morning. Ronnie said, hey, I just sold him to Mac McAllister. He said, I don't know if Mac will breed him, but he said, you're going to have to go to Missouri. I said, you got to be kidding me. So I got a hold of Mac, and I actually got a hold of his wife. And Mac was on the way home with Flat Rock Coma. And he called me when he got home. And I had this old bag telephone, you know, the old cell phone. He called me, and I was already en route. And he said, yeah, Ronnie said that you was wanting to come. And he said, I'll breed her. And he said, it's $400. I said, fine, I'm coming. I'm halfway to your house. And he had old Lipper then there, tied out back, a bunch of Lipper pups. But, you know, I tried, like, I wanted to use him. Mm-hmm. And Patch just wasn't going to reproduce. You know, that's just all it was. They were some pretty nice looking pups. Mm-hmm. Mine just trailed and trailed and trailed, never would tree. And then I finally gave up. But, you know, I tried it once. I did.
Yeah, that's something I would have liked to have tried.
Yeah.
What did you like about the Coma dogs? Like, what really stuck out to you?
I mean, kind of the same scenario. They had evidence when they parked. I have to have accuracy, especially now. I'm too old and fat. Too often to slip trees, and I didn't like doing it when I was younger and skinnier. So, and I thought, and they had good mouths. They were a little bit cleaner tree dog, I thought, than a lot of the whitey stuff. So you're just trying to balance them traits, right? Trying to make up for what you think needs to be a little bit better and what you got, and trying to find, you know, what to go out there and get into it. But I did like what what Duane said earlier about females. I mean, I've always had females too, because I'd rather take a nice female and try to get just a little bit from this stud dog or a little bit from this line than the other way around. It just works better for us. But
well, you never know till you make crosses. Right?
No, there's no
A
guarantee.
year later, you can tell, hey, that worked, or no, that didn't work.
well, you know, when they called me, I said, buddy, if it didn't look good on paper, I never would have put them together.
Right.
They look good on paper. I don't know what's going to happen.
But you know, guys, we're not getting no younger. So
No.
you guys, you know, I'm out of the game right now. I'm looking forward to walking
You
along
said key
tonight.
words right there,
Right now.
Yeah, I'm out of it right now. But
All I need is a pack of firecrackers, and I'll get him back in it.
But you know, at our age, we ain't got a year to waste no more.
No.
And we're
No.
not, you know, I mean, you know, you try to do all the right things, and when the stars don't line up, they just don't line up.
Yep.
You know, you gotta chalk it up as a loss. And I used to always overthink it and say, well, what could have I done?
Well,
you just got to move on.
And unfortunately, it's not only just you, because whoever you sell that pup to,
Yes, sir.
they got to put the time and the boot work and to be honest with you, in my opinion, the patience. I don't think a lot of these people now have the patience to hunt the whitey stock, so to speak, the true trail around, you know.
But they hear about all these dogs running and treeing when they're 6, 7, 8 months
Yeah.
old,
Yeah.
and that whitey line, a lot of times they're not.
No.
I mean, I've got a lot of dogs that 14, 15 months old got just come and get it. I'm done. And a month or two later,
Yeah.
hey, they're running treeing. Well, how'd you do that? It wasn't nothing I did. It was just the age,
No.
right? The time when a pup's ready to tree, he'll tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right?
But sorry, Duane.
Nope, that's fine.
I think it was ones like that, though, Billy, that I think all of us at this table are used to hunting and training. Once they start treeing, they don't look back.
No.
It's wide open. It's done.
Yeah, it's done. It's almost like they're a finished dog. They're not, but I mean, they're just treeing, and they will always get treed after that.
And that's just like I said in the last podcast, that's the way Patch was. You know, all them other ones was running treeing. You know, Ed Yates was done with her. She was just trailing around, and Bill had her there, got her back, and like I said, I just kind of went in hiding with her after I got her, and once it clicked, it was done. You know, but she was 14 months old.
Yep. And I always think those will be more accurate dogs.
Yeah.
I always think they'll be more accurate.
I think as we get older, a little wiser, maybe not. You know, our patience are a little bit easier. You know, I mean, and we can accept some of that and wait on it because we know now.
Yeah.
You know, put it in the kennel. Go grab another project. You know, that's kind of what you have to do. You know, so you know they're going to do it when they want to do it, like Bill said.
So when you have one of those trailing type of dogs that say it's 10 months old or so, and it might just be starting to run some tracks in the woods, do you just keep hunting it and let it just continue to run tracks until it figures out? Like, how do you handle that? Because there's a lot of people that they might not have any experience with that nowadays, because there's so many dogs just go in there and fall treed, or like the early starting ones, a lot of them, there's not a lot of work that goes into them because they're just so natural. But what if you have one that's not as natural and they just start tracking? Do you just keep them in the woods? Do you put them back and let them mature a little bit? How would you handle that?
I think you need to spend time right in the yard. You got to get that pup thinking about stuff hanging above his head. Hang stuff in trees. I don't care if it's a hot dog or blown or
Yeah.
whatever it is. You got to get him start thinking about looking up.
Yeah.
Right. Once you get him start realizing stuff's going up that tree, that switch will snap on pretty quick.
Yeah.
Try to keep them in positive situations.
Yep.
You know, that was always my theory when they was like that. I would put them in woods that I'd hardly ever hunt because they was so tiny. And I'll be honest with you, you could pull up in the fall of the year if there wasn't any leaves, and I'd just kind of shine around. If I seen a coon or two sitting up in there, I just tried to put that pup in an environment that,
Best case scenario.
yeah, where it had its best chances of treeing that coon. If not, if it was in there just trailing around and maybe hit up on that tree and come down, and you could easier to corral them and kind of encourage them that they've got a coon here, and try to reward them if possible. Just positive situations.
Yeah.
And in my experience, you're wasting your time trying to use a pup trainer with them.
Hell yeah.
Want to be with another dog anyway. I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make with
Yeah.
this line. You're farther ahead to cut that pup loose and let it be 300 yards doing whatever it wants to do, and your dog you're hunting's over here treeing whatever. Eventually that dog will start looking up or tapping or will split tree, and then you're good to go. But they get frustrated. They'll call me, I won't tree with the old dog. It's probably not going to.
Yeah.
So
They're not bred to do that.
no, they are not.
The days of this line being pack dogs, it's not there.
Yeah.
And I haven't hunted with hardly any dogs of any line of any breed in the last 10 years where I found any benefit of hunting with another dog, because either the older dog is so naturally independent, it's just going to get the heck out of there, and then it's going to be miles away and the pup's not doing anything, or the pup's going to be off by himself, so why even have them both out and just let them, or the old dog's going to tree the easy one right in front of you and the pup's not going to, so I didn't even think to even bring up hunting with an old dog, because to me, in my mind, that's not even a possibility anymore.
Well, so much could go wrong,
Yeah.
Back to what Duane was saying, a controlled environment. Me and Chuck used to do this a lot. We would catch a coon and we would put a collar on that coon.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, that was kind of a scary situation trying to get a collar on that coon. He'd want to bite your ass, but you get that collar on that coon and put a 20-foot rope on that coon, tie that pup back and get that coon out and let him run. You got control of that coon. Let him run around that yard. That pup's going to lose his mind over because he sees that coon running.
No.
And let that coon go right up a tree. Let him see it go up that tree. And if he don't bark on the first time, pull him down. Let him run around in that yard a little bit. Drag him back over that tree. Let that coon go back up that tree and let him watch that coon go up that tree.
Yeah.
And if 4 or 5 times of that don't make him start treeing, I don't know if they ever will, but it has worked on hundreds of pups for me to get them start thinking about, hey, that thing's going up that tree.
Yeah.
And once that switch snaps, flips, buddy, you don't have to run to him. When they make that tree in there, you don't have to run to him. He's going to stay there till you get to him. So I don't know if a lot of guys do that or not, but I can tell you
I'm
it
guessing
works.
not, Billy.
I've heard one other guy say
guessing not.
that. One other guy say that. That's it.
It
I've watched him collar a couple of them.
Not for you, Duane.
No, I got bit. I tell you, the reason why not, I still got the scar here and I don't have no feeling in this, and that's from a coon biting me. I had a dog catch one on the ground one night in the corn stubble field, and I reached down to grab the dog, and the coon lashed me. And when I could see the bone in here and the blood was squirting out, I knew then and there that I'd never touch or mess with another raccoon, because I spent the rest of the night in the ER.
You want a good pair of welding gloves.
Yeah.
Hand me a shot or two or some kind of moonshine. Put a little more brave in you. Break you up a little bit.
You brought up something about when they tree, they're not going anywhere. How, if you did have one that would come treed and then maybe get back down and start trailing around and maybe not completely leave, but just be 70 yards away or so.
Gather him up, bring him
right back to the tree.
Tie him back a little bit back off of that tree. Don't make him get right up on that tree. I mean, you can get him over and try to get him barking and just tie him back.
Yeah.
Start shooting them coons
You
out.
shoot that coon out, don't let him have it, and just aggravate the crap out of him and build that. I mean, they'll go. That's what worked for me and Bill. You know, we've all had them dogs. You know, Boomer probably has too. You know, tie them back. Don't let them have it. I promise you, you do about 2 or 3 of them sessions in one night, and dogs are trained coons, you're gonna have one pretty quick being up on the wood.
Puts that fire in their belly, we used to call it.
Yep.
Do you leave them on the ground, the coon on the ground once you knock it out?
Leave that woods, he's hanging in that
Yeah.
tree.
That's what.
Yeah.
That's, I've heard other people say that's if you have a dog like that, the last thing you want them to remember is
On the ground.
barking
You want him barking up.
up. Yeah.
I did a few things with I'm fortunate to live back in the woods, and I'd let my puppies run. Neighbors was real good about all of it. If they got on their property, they'd just shoo them away. But when they was getting started, when you was talking, maybe trailing around or whatnot, I would, and I know some people don't like this, and I didn't do it often, but I would go hide a cage coon up in a tree. I'd drag it around where I'd water it down, and then I'd go hang it, and I'd walk them pups around where they would track that.
Yep.
And maybe not bark on it, but as soon as they got up around that tree and they could see that a little bit, it didn't take long. You could just hit a stick and that coon would squall a little bit or hiss, and if they had it in them, they'll go to training. Now, I didn't overdo it because you get too much of it too.
What I did with my blue tick I have now, once he was starting, I just took a coon hide, and it was really dry that time of year, so I just soaked it in the daytime and laid a drag, and he treed it and waited a couple days, and I did it again, and he went and treed it, and I tied him up, took the hide down, went a little bit further away. I did it 3 times that day, and he treated it all 3 times. So then I did it again like a week later, but I did it at night, so I knew he wasn't doing it by sight, and he treated it at night. So then once he did it at night, then I just
Game on.
yeah.
You got yourself a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I've heard other people say that soaking it in water, and that makes a lot of sense because once again it's easy. I mean, there's so much scent there. Where in the summertime, if you're, I guess last fall it didn't have to be summertime. So many times it gets so dry, it's hard to get pups started because there's nothing for them to smell on the ground.
Right.
Or coon might not be moving, and if you have one that's slow to look up, if they don't come down, they're always up. There's not really a chance for them to get started. So you have to, like you said, give them a best case scenario, I guess, to get started.
Yeah.
You got any more dogs on that list we haven't touched on if you need to?
Pick one out there, Duane.
There was, Stylish Whitey girl was in here. That's the first thing I'm looking here. She was one of Walker Days back for Todd Norfleet back in the day. She was one of them. Get her mouth open pretty darn quick and aggravating. Bill had a real nice one here. He had 2 of them I'm sitting there looking at. He had old Stylish Love a lot. She could be a little aggravating. He grandnighted her out. I was lucky enough to put a win or 2 on her for him and help get that done. And then there was a dog called Woody that went on to Bill sold to Trevor Tallman. Woody was a pretty nice dog, and Bill had Woody. I would say I'm safe enough to say that if Bill had Woody right now today, in his current situation, being retired now and stuff and enjoying life, Woody would have probably never left Bill. But at that time, Bill was raising a couple kids, and doing what he had to do, and I commend him for that, And Woody went on, and I believe he placed 5th in the UKC World Hunt. Was that?
I think it was.
I think he placed 5th. So I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. Bill's not one to talk on here much, and I sure do have. I appreciate sitting here beside him. Like I told you, we've been friends for 43 years. A lot of people forget about the old country coon hunter type, just sitting out back.
Yep.
And a lot of these dogs went on, and we touched on Stylish Box, 2nd in the UKC World Hunt. Bill has been blessed to start, train, promote this line for as long as he has. And, you know, not too many people can say that they stuck it out through the good times and the bad, but this man has, you know, and it's not all been easy. Like I said, he was doing it and raising 2 kids there by himself for a while. So, you know, he's got a lot to be proud of when he does hang his lead strap up, or as he lays his head down tonight after we get done hunting. You know, he's been very blessed. We've all been blessed with the friendships, but this man sitting right here beside me is, a lot of people don't know the dogs that came from him or has passed through here that's had a little bit of boot put behind them, and a lot of people ought to thank that guy, because these guys are
I appreciate
very
you
blessed.
saying all that, Duane. But another reason why that list is so long, once I got the pup going, when I started knowing what that pup bark was, what he was going to do when I heard that next bark, I was ready to start something else.
Yep.
And I'm not one to go to a hunt. I never have been. And that dog deserved to be at a hunt. So it was time to me to sell him, put him in somebody's hands that's going to take that dog and promote him. And we was lucky. Chirpy, Vining Boys, Thighs, Clover, Doug Jackson.
Got him in people's hands that knew was going to do good. But you know what, Bill? They forgot about the guy that started them.
Right.
You know, and it takes that special person like you and Boomer, you know, that puts that time into them, you know, and those guys do not get near enough credit. This don't just happen overnight, you know. These guys that are listening to this, they know what we're talking about. But for you young fellows and ladies that are just wanting to get in this crazy sport, hey, not only one, it's a great sport to be involved in, but it's an addiction. It's an addiction. It's hard to get away. It's tough, you know.
What I'm trying to say is he's going to worry when he puts his head on his pillow tonight. He's going to have the fire stepping up.
Yeah. Or I'm going to go home and say, boy, what kind of crap did these guys turn loose? You know,
right.
So you guys better be doing some praying that these things show us some coons, or I'm going to be back into hibernation. But you know, it'll be all fun. You know, like I said, I'm looking forward to it. But you know, back to, you know, it just takes people like Bill and Boomer to stick things out. You know, and just, man, I can't stress enough, you know, what these guys have done, and especially this man sitting here right beside me has done for the Walker breed.
Yep.
Well, Doug always told me, he said, Bill, you're the molder. He said, John Otto's the grinder, and he said, I'm the polisher.
You know, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
I never thought of it like that, but you know, he's right on. You know, he's right on.
You take 3 different kinds of people to get that dog to be at his peak performance, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you know, what a dog will do for one guy, he won't for another, right? And it might be just one thing that he does different than somebody else that makes that dog be an average dog to be a top-notch competition dog, right?
Yep.
Or a coon dog, or whatever you're looking for, right?
And I agree with that 100%. And that's probably, like I spoke earlier in an earlier podcast, that Bill and I have gotten, is probably why we just got we're mindset on the same type of dog. And like I told you in that podcast earlier, that I didn't have to tell Bill to grab mine and correct it, and vice versa, you know. And that's probably why them same dogs, I could go out to his kennel and it would perform for me, or, you know, that's what made us great partners on stuff, you know. And you got to have that same kind of, you know, mindset, just like Boomer and his son, you know. You know, they think alike because that's what he was brought up, you know.
It's scary. You better listen to that, Tyler. No, just kidding.
But you know, it's just truth, you know. I mean,
I'll even go one step further than that, Duane. I mean, I learned from you guys, right? I mean, from the Hinchcliffs, from you, you know, and took a ton of whippings when I was young in this sport, because you guys was packing stuff, and I'm like, how do I get one of those? Because this thing I got ain't cut it, right? So you just, you know, you learn as you go and everything, and for the young people that are listening, you don't know it all, and there's always a better way to do it. I am almost 50 years old, and I still learn stuff every day in the coon hunting world. Just pay attention Because I promise you, there's an old timer sitting at the table drinking coffee in a coon club when you're out there at a hunt, and they can teach you something if you just listen to them. So
Absolutely.
And the bottom line, you got to surround yourself around good people. If you surround yourself around great people, great things are going to happen. Like I said, we were lucky growing up that the group of coon hunters in a 20-mile radius from where Bill and I grew up was crazy,
insane.
man. I mean, great dog men, and some of them went on to train coons in heaven tonight. But I mean, I got the memories, them at school of hard knocks with them guys, because they didn't really treat you right. I mean, they treated us great, but you had to learn. Some of them guys was ornery.
There wasn't no free cast ones growing up around here.
No, they was 3-hour hunts, and like I said, in that other part, it was brutal, man. I mean, if you placed in the top 10 and got yourself a trophy, shit, you was driving out of there, you was pumped.
Yeah.
You've done something.
I remember a great guy we all know. His name is Ray Carroll, and he was like a second dad to me for years. When I started going them hunts, he would always be my truck man and go with me. And anybody knows old Ray, shit was going to get done right, or they had to pay the piper.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
But anyway, I remember the first cast I drawed Ray. Dogs get struck up in there. Mine struck, and it was chirpy. And I wasn't real sure if it was mine, if it was Ray, but I wanted to win. I wanted to win. I struck that dog up in there. Chirpy struck. Oh, Ray, give me that look. He never said anything, and I was scared to death of that man. But yeah, that's the stuff you remember, man.
RC was a good one.
Yes,
He's a
sir.
good one. Yeah. You didn't want to get RC upset. Someone was going to come home with a knot on their head someday.
Yeah.
He's a tough old bird.
He's a good
He's a
boy.
good one. He sure enough is. Yeah.
Him old Mal Hunterford, you got any stories on Mal?
How about old Jerry Basin here in Mel and them guys get together? Oh, and they'd had that old gorilla mask out there. I tell you what, them boys would be brutal on us kids. And I'm going to tell you one here on Bill real quick. One night, this was back in '95, and I was hunting this English dog for Vern Newland. And I turned old Bobby loose down there on the river one night, and it was late. Bill and I was working that second shift, and Bill said, "I'll just sit here at the truck." I said, "All right." And I said, "I'll be right back. I go get him." So I rolled down that fence row, and there was corn. I go down there to the river, and I see the coon walking in, and I just grab my come back. And I'm a little bit like my dad. I'm a little jumpy. And old Bill's sitting over here in the dang corn. And when I walked by, I was just about to the truck. He reached down there and grabbed my leg. Well, he grabbed my leg. I about ran right through that truck and across the road. And I was screaming, squalling. I'm telling you, I thought I'd seen my maker. I thought Bill's going to have a heart attack. He was laying out there laughing in that cornfield so hard. But I don't know. Someday maybe paybacks or something. But yeah, some things you never forget. We had a lot of fun. Moral story is we had a lot of fun hunting, messing with each other. But them old timers always carried that old gorilla mask behind that seat. And they'd run up in there and they'd see somebody coon hunting. They'd be hiding in the bushes. And you might need to change your pants when you're done with that.
That's kind of where we're going to go next, is just stories about either any of those dogs or people, kind of about that. And then dogs we're hunting now. And Chad, you can talk about where we're at now with like the more modern. So we'll take a little break.
More modern.
The more modern.
Yeah. We're getting ready to take the dogs to the woods tonight using the Dogter Pathfinder 2 GPS tracking system.